Good afternoon. Today I want to walk through all the participants in a court process, and explain each role that they all play, because courts aren't only about the judges and the lawyers like you see in TV on TV shows. It's more of a whole team that makes everything run smoothly and make sure everything is in order. The first one I'm going to start with is the plaintiff. The plaintiff is the person that is bringing the complaint to the court. They're basically saying that they've been wronged and they want the court to address it and just fix it. And they bring that complaint about the respondent. The respondent is also known as the defendant. The defendant is the one that responds to the plaintiff's claim, and they basically just defend themselves, and they make sure that their side of the story is heard, so that the plaintiff isn't just playing he said, she said, basically. In criminal case, those two are for civil cases. When it comes to criminal cases, it's typically the accused versus the government. The accused is basically the person that is committed of said crime. They are in the process of being charged with a crime, and they are supposed to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. The prosecutor plays the government in this situation, so it would be accused versus prosecutor, which is the government. The prosecutor basically is responsible for providing evidence, and they're supposed to prove that the accused committed the crime. They're supposed to be able to not only push to convict the accused, but also make sure that the truth is being told. And the person that defends the respondent against the prosecutor is called a defense attorney, which is the lawyer that is on the same team as the respondent. They are supposed to defend and make sure that whether the person is guilty or innocent, the defense attorney is just supposed to ensure that the trial is fair, the laws are being followed, and that they are putting what is best for their client and the client's wishes forward. What else is on the criminal and civil cases is a judge. The judge is always supposed to be neutral and fair, like an in-between referee that listens to both of the sides, and at the very end they determine whether the accused or the respondent is guilty or not guilty of said crime that they're being accused with or charged with. And they typically just make sure that everybody in the courtroom is following the laws, rule on objections, and they explain the law to the jury. The victim is typically with the accused versus government. The victim isn't necessarily the prosecutor. Primarily defends the victim. The victim is a vital part of the case because they can share their testimony, they can testify. They're just showing their point and giving their statements, which really helps the court understand the impact of the crime and how the victim was affected, what makes them a victim, essentially, and just helps the jury. Along with that are also witnesses. Witnesses are key evidence. So if, let's say, the prosecutor is low on physical evidence, if they have good witnesses, they could also be used as firsthand evidence. And witnesses always provide background on the accused, and they say their side of the story, see which sides link up with either the accused or the victim, to really just basically just get a background and see everything that's happens that the accused or the victim aren't necessarily saying or might not know at the time. Besides the victims and the witnesses, there's before they go to court, you have the police. The police typically run an investigation. The police are responsible for running the investigation, collecting any type of evidence that is needed. They make the arrests, and then later they testify in court about what they found, They testify everything that went on from the arrest. So why they had reason to arrest them, what happened during the arrest, the evidence that they collected, anything that they had involved in with the case. They testify their side, and in that the defense attorney can really challenge the police officers and basically be like, oh, are you sure that this happened, or are you sure that happened, or did you do this correctly? And the defense attorneys will try to discredit the police officers to be in the best interest of the accused. But yes, the police officers, they are the first responders basically. And besides the police, next we have the jury. The jury are always ordinary citizens of the community that just listen to the evidence, listen to the facts, listen to both sides of the story. They see everything, and at the very end, they are going to take however long they need to decide and deliberate to see whether they believe that the accused should be guilty or innocent. As ordinary citizens, they also have to be tested beforehand to make sure that, they take a survey to make sure that they aren't going to be biased on the subject, and just make sure that they are neutral and unbiased going into it, so that they won't automatically pick sides, and that they would actually sit, listen to everything, not already have an idea of, oh yeah, they're going to be guilty as soon as they walk in. So they try to make sure that the jury is neutral, can represent the voice of the community, and just continue with the verdict. And even though the jury chooses whether the accused will be guilty or innocent, at the end of the day, the judge has the overall power to say, to overrule the jury basically. So if the judge feels like, with everything that they've seen, that the jury didn't make a correct decision or didn't make a wise decision, they can overrule it and say, at the end of the day, this is who's guilty. So, and when it comes to that, it's really like, well, does the jury really have much power? If some cases, yes, the jury is like very significant, but in other cases as well, the jury would decide one thing and the judge will overrule it, and then people would question whether the jury is really the voice of the community or not, or is the judge the voice of the community. And with the judge, it can be a little tricky because there is corruption everywhere, and the judges may be corrupt. But when you put all the roles together, the plaintiff and respondent in civil cases, the accused, prosecutor, and defense attorney in the criminal cases, along with the judge, victim, witnesses, police, and jury, the justice system does have like a whole process and people specified for each thing, just to make sure everything runs smoothly and is fair and carried out in the best way possible. In closing, I believe understanding these rules is important not only for students of criminal justice, but all students, and also not all students of criminal justice, and all citizens, because the court systems can be intimidating, but when you break it down and you see who does what and how things are done, what order things are done in, it helps people understand and maybe feel a little bit more comfortable about going into these spaces. So, thank you.